Okay, we're gonna call the regular board meeting to order at 7:06. Our Treaty 5 acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are signatories of Treaty 5 and that we reside in the traditional territory of the Nichiswayasik Cree Nation. We are all treaty people. Approval of the agenda as circulated. Trustee Humby. Trustee Lawson.
I just have some additions.
Oh, okay. I think it has to be approved first, doesn't it? No. Okay. What? Oh, these don't work.
Oh.
I'll just talk louder.
So the first one would be the respect in school. And second would be here at school.
Under new business or?
New business, yeah.
Okay, so approval of the agenda as amended with the addition of respect in school and Deerwood School. Trustee Humby.
Yep.
Pardon? Okay. Trustee Humby. And the seconder?
I'll second
Trustee Young. All in favor? And adoption of the minutes is circulated for December 13th, 2022. Should say.
Yeah, sorry.
It almost got me there too.
Oh, yeah, oh, title is incorrect, but I'll change that for you. Apologies.
That's okay. Is there any errors or omissions? Mover? Trustee Lawson? Seconder?
Trustee Warner Brown, second.
Trustee Warner Brown? All in favor? Business from the previous board meeting. As noted during the December 13th, 2022 board meeting, Trustee Warner Brown composed a response for the board to review to address the government's recent proposal to develop and implement a performance-based funding model for university and colleges across Manitoba. It was in the board package for us to review and revise if we wanted to. So I guess the first one was the MSBA requesting this from us, and then the draft. So do we have to approve it first and then discuss, or just discuss?
We need a mover and a seconder, and we can discuss the motion.
Mover?
Oh, go ahead, Sean. No,
Vice Chair Tomaszewski will vote.
I'll second.
Now we're going to
Okay, now discussion about the drafts that have been submitted in the board package.
Trustee Warner Brown, do you wanna?
What do you want me to do? I'll describe the spirit that animated these. The comprehensive version was my first draft, and I wrote it over Christmas. I was thinking about it, and then I was thinking, okay, because this is something I've looked at for a long time. We've been discussing in the universities now already for 7 months. And so when Kelly mentioned, Hank, don't forget that you have to do this, I was like, oh yeah, I better put something on paper. And so I wrote my ideas down in the form of an argument, and then it ended up being too long. And I thought, well, that's a sound argument, but I don't know necessarily that it's what that I was given the task for. I was not given the task to write an epistle. So I decided to have a summary version, which is a one-page, which kind of has the arguments, but doesn't contain the logic. And then the second, the longer version, contains the logic and the thought process. So I suppose if we were to look at doctoring one of them, we would have to decide if we want to submit as the package the concise version or the longer version. And then of course it's completely open to being edited and revamped.
First, thank you very much for doing this, especially over your Christmas break. I think both are extremely well put together. I personally like the comprehensive, just because it does give some facts to what's being said. So I would be fine with submitting the comprehensive, but at the same time, I'm fine with the executive summary as well. I think both convey what we're thinking, and I honestly don't have any changes. I think it's very well put together.
Yeah, I have to agree, it's very well worded, but I think the comprehensive, if you're going to submit, the comprehensive would be the one to submit, just to give
I
the
think
whole
so.
background
Absolutely. Yeah.
of the gist of the whole letter.
I would agree with the more comprehensive version. I wouldn't have any suggestions for revisions. I think it's very clear, direct, and make very valid and important points. So thank you.
Okay, so I guess we'll put a motion forward to submit the comprehensive version. Pardon?
I'll second.
Oh, okay. Trustee Humby, second. Trustee Young. Yeah. I'm still trying to remember the last names and read these.
Just one comment for our admin, you got going through it, is there any comments, any additions, or anything that you would, being in your positions?
I read both of them. I was looking for some clarity, because I'm like, do I have the same, that one's more comprehensive than the other, so, it was like.
two PDFs.
Yeah, okay. No, I mean, I think it was, again, I read it, I commented, it was extremely well written. I mean, you put the work in to do the comprehensive component, and I think, as I said, it explains things very well, so. Makes some very valid points, I would agree.
Yes. Yeah, it conveys the spirit, I think, of the North.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it provides that overview, and I think the comprehensive is what they need, because too often when they're seeking information, it's the very short version.
That's why I put
Yeah.
both. I
Yeah.
was not sure. I
Yeah.
don't play politics very often, or so I thought, well,
Well, and you've cited
which
some.
one is the politician more likely to read? Sometimes they only want to read things that are 2 or 3 paragraphs long. But
and
the one that's
including somebody like Megan Sinclair, who's a rock star.
yes,
Those are really
I
important
just
things.
wanted to say, well, here are some others who are speaking the same argument.
Yeah.
And
You're advocating for the North.
yeah,
That's really
yeah.
important.
And I think when you're advocating for the North, sometimes you need to put those specifics and be very specific. Yeah, because people just, I don't want to say, sometimes they just don't understand some of the challenges.
Yeah.
The short version would be easier to dismiss than the complete version.
Yes.
That's-
So this will go under Chair Anderson's signature on behalf of the board, is that correct?
Yep.
Or-
I guess now we'll vote. All in favor for sending the comprehensive version? Okay.
Now, out of curiosity, is this something we want to share with the citizen or some such? Is it private between us and the Manitoba School Association, or is it something we can say,
It'll be a part of our minutes, so anyone.
it'll be part of the
can read
minutes, so it'll be public then?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because I'm sure my employer would like to have a copy of this.
it. But we
They
could
need all the arguments
also,
they can get.
maybe we could also put it on our website or something.
Maybe on the website, or get people looking at it?
Or yeah, like a link to that specifically.
Under the trustees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll prepare the document ready for your signature and then. Because it's not on our letter.
No, it'll have to
Okay,
be part of
yeah.
the letterhead.
Yeah.
Is there maybe an avenue where this can be a sponsored document from UCN, from?
Well, I
like,
was
know
thinking,
you wrote
if it's in the,
but-
if it's in the internet, then partners like UCN could make use of it. Because my president needs to know, when he goes advocating the government and says, listen, this is not in our favor, he can say partners like Mystery Lake School Board believe the same. Yeah, that's a very useful thing.
I just think power numbers, right? So
If we're all speaking the same song,
it's gonna
singing the
affect
same
everybody,
song.
right? So
Yeah.
if we can send that document to the government and have it sponsored by the city, UCN, you know,
Yeah,
whatever.
sure.
I could also
send it to our board chairs.
that would go to the PAW and Flin Flon
Yeah, that would be useful too.
and Frontier.
Because I think that this is an important issue.
Yeah.
I think, when we look at the school board and what the province wanted to do to shut the school board down, on the university side, this is not the same, but it would have a huge impact on how we operate and how we program. It will mean some programs will get more money and a lot of programs will get less, including professors of history.
So we'll be going to Mr. Ray's and our MLA
Yeah.
and the school board chairperson association,
Yeah.
board chairs.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like
Well
a
done.
good idea. Okay, we will go to the Superintendent of Human Resources and Policy report.
Just highlighting some of the events I had the honor of attending. I think I just want, well, I think I want to take this opportunity to thank all the schools for their awesome job on their winter concerts. I know for many people, Christmas is a very joyous time. I mean, speaking from somebody who was a school principal for a great deal of time during the Christmas concert, winter concert time, it can be highly stressful. So I did have the opportunity to attend the dress rehearsals for Burntwood, Riverside, and Deerwood School. Not quite a big fan as who's attended them all and attended the big shows. So I want to thank all the people who did all the hard work for those. Just some some initiatives on the human resources side. The second professional development session for the intern program is scheduled for January 19th. It'll be in the evening. It'll be facilitated by myself, and it will be on the topic of union articles and administrative procedures that school leaders should familiarize themselves with and administer appropriately. And I'll be attending the Nipissing University Career Fair in North Bay, Ontario on the 3rd of November. I'll have a full report on my recruitment efforts upon my return. Are there any questions? Mike, or
Just-
Trustee Lawson, excuse me.
So with choosing where we go for the career fairs, do they send out invitations?
Yeah, they obviously, yes, they do send out invitations. I've attended this fair quite a few times, and I get quite a lot of activity. There was somebody on faculty at Nipissing University who taught up north and was very familiar. So he taught like the 5th level courses for the university program in education. So he very much promoted Thompson and coming to the north and coming to Manitoba. So I actually had a lot of action, so that's kind of why I've always gone back. I've been very successful over the years hiring teachers from there. Sometimes they don't stay with us for a very long time, but they come. Yeah. Northern Ontario, and the thing is, it's a big fair, so it's not only Nipissing. What happens is you'll also get the students from Laurentian, because Laurentian doesn't really host a career fair so much anymore because of that. So they'll come from Sudbury to North Bay, so you and in Sudbury they have the French program. What happens in North Bay is we get a lot of activity, because when you're there and you got all the French-speaking ones coming out of the education program, they're very sought after. So I think sometimes some of the other folks don't get quite as much activity and job opportunities at that fair, or as maybe the francophone do. So it's quite a large fair. And I mean, Northern Ontario is not that far of a stretch from Thompson in terms of geographics. I mean, weather is probably a little milder, but all the things, the activities that people like to do, is very, very similar. There's a connection between Northern Ontario and Thompson as well, just with Valet being in those areas, so they know of Thompson. Very often I run into people that have relatives that live here or have been here, or are familiar with Thompson. So,
Do you ever get to Thunder Bay?
no, I've never gone to Thunder Bay.
I'm an alumnus of Lakehead.
Yep.
Thunder Bay, it's a population that it has not been growing particularly, but it's much like Thompson. The area around it has been growing immensely. So oftentimes, that's a big education program they have there. And oftentimes they're thinking, how can I get a job in the province of Ontario? But they don't think about Manitoba very much. And I'm thinking, if you were to hit Thunder Bay somehow also, you might find yourself getting some heat. It might be worth your time.
I've never had.
It's a big program.
I mean, for me, it's just basically what but I don't
and it's a
Are you
mid-sized-
familiar with the fact? Do they have a
Well, because I'm a graduate from it.
so do they?
Yeah. So I mean, they're graduating. Well, at the time, when I was going, they had about 200 students. They were graduating about 30 or 50 teachers a year,
Okay.
which is not insignificant.
Did you attend a career fair? Or do you remember if they had like an education career fair?
God, I don't remember. But even just sitting there and visiting the classes.
Yeah, no, I did that. Like in Sudbury, I've
Yeah.
gone and I had a connection in Sudbury as well, because there was a girl that grew up in Thompson who was a
Yeah.
university professor in Sudbury, and she would
Because
arrange for me to
most Lakehead graduates don't teach in Thunder Bay. There's no
jobs.
So they have to go outside. And Ontario sometimes is flushed. So if they start looking northwest, it might be,
Something to consider.
yeah.
Perfect.
One more question, sorry. Sub-teacher interviews. What
Yes.
are those?
What are they?
It sounds a dumb question.
No. So people apply to substitute teach. I interview them as I'd interview other employees. I mean, and then what I do is a substitute teaching orientation. So from the interview process, those that are selected to get on the sub list generally come. It's probably most times I do it the next day or the next morning. We'll come meet in this room, and I do a substitute teacher orientation. So in that orientation, I discuss what a limited teaching permit is. I'll go over the responsibility with regards to reporting child abuse. We go over lockdown procedures, administration of medication, if indeed, one of the students in your room goes into anaphylactic shock. Like obviously fire drills, if a fire drill is happening, lockdown procedures, appropriate attire.
So is that different than, like, I know when I first came up here,
Mhm.
right, I was in a classroom for a little bit, right?
Right.
Was that a substitute teacher, or is there a different
Yeah.
word for?
Yeah, were you,
I wasn't taught,
did you, okay. So did you do an extended term? I can't remember now.
feels like 20 years ago, but it wasn't. I just applied a criminal record and child abuse.
Okay, so there are two functions. So for example, a substitute teacher is one that, we would call in because so-and-so is sick and you attend to that class, there's a sub-plan. There's another, what we refer to as, that would be a limited teaching permit that you get from the province to do that. If, let's say, we had an extended medical leave for one of our staff members, then I could apply for what we refer to as a classroom permit for that substitute teacher in order to take over that class for an extended period of time. Classroom permits are only granted to those who would be taking over a classroom for an extended period of time who are not certified teachers. So, i.e., I would have, let's say I had a newly landed immigrant who was a teacher in their home country, but were in the process of having all of their credentials reviewed by Russell, which is the certification branch. And that process they hadn't been issued either a provisional teaching certificate or a teaching certificate in Manitoba yet. I would apply for a classroom permit in order for them to do that extended period of time in that classroom. Because in the views of Manitoba, they're not yet a certified teacher in our province.
Right. So the sub-teacher interviews, those are the ones that, you know, a teacher that calls and
Yes.
says, these are the ones that would go there.
Yes.
Okay.
And very often, of that pool of teachers, those will be the ones that we hire to take over a classroom on an extended absence. Yeah.
Okay. And we always, like, I never got an interview. I get Joe, I think it was Joe, Baker last name? He used to work at Frontier.
Joanne.
Yeah. So I just wasn't sure if it was different than what my experience was, so.
No.
Okay. Okay, great, thanks so much.
Yep.
Moving on to the Superintendent of Educational Services and Programming report.
I've submitted my report. I just want to make one correction in the information around dates after the shared health meeting. It says the 10th to the 21st. It actually should be the 19th to the 21st. Youth behavior survey, and this one actually I should have had written with a recommendation. So we've been going back and forth in the youth behavior survey. That's the local survey that's been, we've been doing that since 1985. So in conversation back and forth with some members of the AHAC and the original committee, this really isn't a research project. Mm-hmm. It's not for use to be published, it's for use to be used internally. Mm-hmm. So the only reason that we do publish something is because we want that information to go back to the community. Mm-hmm. So we'd really like to move forward and get that one okayed. I did provide a sample letter that will go out to the parents so that they're aware. And at any time, you know, a parent can say no, they don't want their child to be a part of the survey.
It was timely because you folks were wondering how long this survey, and Lori had a dusty old box of archived stuff that came out of wherever here, and there was a newspaper article in the Thompson Citizen. When was it published? 85?
It's been 85.
Yeah, and it had the results from the youth behavior survey in there.
And I do have each year's, like it is Proactive who does conduct the survey. Mm-hmm. So we would like to get that going because as you can see in my next bullet, we have another survey that's on our heels. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for approval from the board to move forward. I know that the committee is really waiting to get this out. And it does provide the direction of services through our regional health, which now AFM belongs to that shared health. It's no longer a standalone. So
Do we want to move that now then?
So this is from grades 6 to 10, or are we doing two separate?
the youth behavior, the first one there is our local one. So that's only used for our purposes. And then the second one is the Youth Behavior Survey, which is a national, and that's through Queen's University. And that one I included the letter for your information. Like, we didn't get a choice on this one. We received the directive from the province, from MISL. And the way they're rolling that one out is they've notified us, but the communication is going to go directly to the principals. And then the principals will provide the letter to the parents. So I was just going to pull out some of the questions from these surveys just to show you, but then when I started going through, I'm like, okay, this is way too much, and you guys need to actually see the whole survey, because it's starting to ask people about their living arrangements, and I thought that it was really important that you saw the entire survey, and this one is the one that is mandated. It's a directive for us. So there is no parental permission. Well, I guess parents can opt out, but we didn't get a choice. And then we'll get the results school by school based on what their kids are saying in their schools. So there's some interesting questions in there.
Do you have a recommendation, like a motion, recommendation motion?
Well, for our youth behavior survey, our local, I'd like to move on that because that really does provide the direction for services that are provided within our schools, and it's with our partnerships. With the other, we don't have.
Right.
It's more for information.
I pulled up from previous youth behavior surveys, the wording for the motion would be that the youth behavior survey for 2022 be approved for circulation in all district schools.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Thank you. And that one comes back to the board. There'll be a presentation so that we'll hear the results as a group.
I should have asked this, but is it an opt-in or an opt-out? Or,
Yeah, they can opt out.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
out of it
an
and
opt-out, It's not an opt-in.
yeah. Okay, so now we're down to, so as a district, we're up for the student services review and reporting. So this is around the student achievement and inclusion. So this is where the province is coming up and they're looking at our student-specific planning and any of our inclusion practices. So we went through a review back in 2016 or 2017. It took a number of years to get the report back with COVID and stuff that was going on, changes in the department. So we've gone through that with the group, and now they're coming back to look at the recommendations to see if we followed through on our recommendations and just, you know, looking at our best practices. And they also identify a number of students out of each schools where they will go and they'll observe the kids, and they will also pull their SSPs, their student-specific, it used to be the IEPs, and they'll look at them to see that they're in, I guess, a proper format and that we're following through. And then they'll write a report again, and then it's just it's a rolling review that happens every 3 to 4 years. So that's going to be happening soon. We're just setting up the dates on that. The attendance policy, I'm sure that you've heard that the attendance policy briefing took place yesterday and they rolled out all that information. I believe the chair is receiving that information also. So it is a directive, it is a policy, it's available online. So for this year, basically it's, there's 6 guidelines, and the guidelines are looking at common terminology so that we're all using the same language when we're looking at things like presence, attendance, excused absences, stuff like that. And then it's enhancing proactive and preventative attendance practices. And then it's looking at how we're documenting, monitoring, analyzing coordinated services, and then a response to chronic absenteeism. And for us as a division, we've been doing a lot of positive things. So some of the things that are being implemented from the province are going to be new. There's going to be a code for students who are chronic non-attenders, and they'll be identified. So we'll run a report September 30th, and we'll run a report halfway through the year with the list of students who have been identified as chronic non-attenders, which is new. It's just like us running an EAL, you know, kids as English as an additional language, they have a tag, so that information goes. Something that's going to be different is they're looking at student-specific plans for kids who are chronic non-attenders. There's quite a few things that are up in the air, but for right now, it's about us getting the policies in place and having the conversations around our non-attenders.
So there was a review of our attendance administrative procedure I don't know when we did that. It was last year sometime. And I mean, there was no doubt it was outdated. It was kind of punitive in nature with regards to, you know, sending notes home to parents about their legal obligation to send kids to school. We basically weren't utilizing it. So we revisited it. It has been redone as of, I think it was in the fall, or in this, maybe, I can't remember what the date was, but it was earlier on, maybe March-ish. There have been some significant changes to that policy. I think they did quite a bit of work with regards to, you know, when to contact parents, you know, the teacher's obligation. How we really streamlined who is, you know, responsible for, you know, doing the communications, the documentation piece. With this coming out, one of the pieces that's missing, which is new and not knowing how extensive the guidelines would be for the new policy, is the student-specific plans with regarding attendance. We've got to do some additions and stuff. So, but we
And we've always gone above and beyond what has been required by the province when it comes to student attendance. It's documented that we use an activity tab. Like there's a lot of conversation.
lots of outreach.
Yeah, so we're in a good spot. It's just updating our policies because they put new directives
Yeah,
in. So.
and I will say this: up until like last year, though, that policy was quite, like I said, we didn't utilize the letters anymore, but they were there, and I mean they were very punitive in nature, which weren't effective and did not make for good relationships between the home and the
it
school.
didn't improve attendance.
No,
getting
it wasn't working. So.
Send the truancy office?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We can make a recommendation so that goes to the policy committee so we can update that. So it's
Like,
Okay,
so
that's an administrative procedure. It's not
okay.
a board policy. But what will happen is once it's looked at, like I'll get the admin procedure review committee to look at the attendance policy that we presently have, that we revamped not that long ago. Look to see how it is in line with the guidelines just put forth by the province. Update it, making sure everything's, you know, in line. Probably have somebody at MSBA have a look at it, and then bring it to the policy committee. And you know, I always will share. They can put in any revisions and what have you. I mean, I could certainly attach one to your board agenda just for information's purposes when it's complete.
Sure.
Okay.
That's a
Awesome.
directive though, right, from the province?
Oh, yes.
Like that's
Yeah.
not an option, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's Safe and Caring Schools, and it's right on there. It says a policy directive, an action plan to enhance student presence and engagement.
So
Is
that's-
it, so just to augment that thought, is it in response to COVID or pre-existing? I mean, I know I read in papers, they say that the numbers have gone up in the last
It's
month.
in response to the education roadmap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you open that document, it's one of the bullets, so now
Oh.
they'll be able to,
Check it off.
yeah, that's where it's at, so, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Do you see that affecting budget at all? Like, you have students who are away, they're absent for a third of the year, we're now gonna take money away.
I don't think so.
But
It's actually, I welcome the conversation with the students that we identify as the chronic non-attenders, because we spend a lot of time trying to get students back into school, and you know, maybe there becomes now some extra support because we've identified these students.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think it's great to actually have it categorized, and I haven't seen it, but it sounds like there's also a bit of a template, okay, who's responsible here, and I stand by this. We're not raising kids. Our parents are raising kids. We're educating kids. That's our job. And that the onus seems to fall on schools, specifically those classroom teachers, to make sure that those kids are there. And that's not their job. Their job is to educate them, make sure they're there. So it's nice to sound like it sounds like they're passing out some responsibility on paper that we can stand behind as well.
Yeah, I think moving forward, like there's going to be some hiccups along the way.
Yeah.
Case managers, it's supposed to be, you know, something that's on your standing agenda. Well, it's been on our standing agenda forever. Like I report it out to you guys, so you guys know too, and we talk about it with our principals, we talk about it with our family outreach. Like it's something that's always talked about, but now it's something that we can document and actually send away. Yeah. Okay.
I think too the other end of things is we've discussed this about kids. You could have kids missing quite a bit of school, but all for logistical reasons, i.e. they play hockey. I mean, when you're going to a hockey tournament, you live in Thompson, and you go to 2 or 3 a year,
Yeah.
you know, there's some logistics with regards to higher absenteeism in the north because of some of the activities. The kids are, it's not that they're, but there are kids that are chronically
And I think
not.
that's why the terminology, the common terminology, like those would be excused absences.
Yeah.
And those are normally the kids that are doing okay in school.
Well,
It's-
usually,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the North Stars, I don't know if you could say that, right? But the school has no authority over that, right? It's an excused absence from a teacher, from a parent, and, you know, they need to be in class.
But it's communicated with parents, they're aware, and there is the tutoring opportunity for the kids when they're falling behind in class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're also held to standard. There's actually been students returned home this year for not holding up their academics.
Right, it's out of the school's hands.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a couple of questions about our career track.
So here you can see there are now 3 schools like Juniper, Marvel and Local. So which criteria did you select those 3 schools?
Okay, so, career track, I met with.
We actually had our planning meeting today with the 3 principals. And so the schools were identified through opportunity. That's, those schools are, students aren't always getting the opportunity to do the exploring careers. So we chose the 3 schools, and with those 3 schools, that's 12 classes. So it's a lot of students. So that's our starting point right now. There is opportunity. I don't know if this year we'll have opportunity because we're running those in two sessions. We have one starting February 6th, and then we have another one starting April 5th. So it's grade 5 and 6 classes right now. But there are other opportunities through Career Trek that they can, reach out and ask if they will come in to the classrooms, or they can go out to them. So
I think this is a good start, because when I ask my kids that what do you
Want to be. Their question is, I want to be teacher. Why they want to be teacher? Because they don't know about the other careers.
That's the profession they see.
For this reason, we have to introduce them to, okay, so you have a lots of options. If they know our community, I ask my kids that, do you know where the water comes from the tap? Do you want to see the water treatment plant? How they treat the water? They take the water from a lake and they treat. How it's come? Do you know where the water goes when you flush your toilet? How it's go to our nature or environment? So if we have any plan for the 6, 7 or 8 grade students to show them there, to know our community, how it works, and then they will, I think they will get an idea, okay, this is another career I can go.
Right, and we have talked about.
And I think we have a nurse, public health nurse. If we have a chance, we can go to the school and we can talk with the kids. Then they will get an idea what we are doing. And how can they start to the community?
And that's good to know, because this is just
like the Career Trek has only identified grade 5 and 6, but there's schools that still want to do the career fairs within. I know Wapanek wants to do a career fair with their grades 7 and 8s, and so it's, who's in the community that's willing to come in and speak to our students. And then we talk, if you look here, not everybody's going to be a vet, but let's have a conversation about all the people who work in the vet's office. There's a lot of people that.
The support staff.
Right, so, and there's different jobs.
Technicians and the.
So we wanted to have that conversation with the kids also. And the big plan is, and I don't want to hold, Hannah's, the plan is to go to UCN at the end for the graduation with parents, so that they can explore UCN and what opportunities are there too. So, so that was a
Well, even at
positive.
UCN, we have 25-year-olds who don't know what they want to do. So
Yeah.
if we can reach them when they're in grade 6, that's good. At least so that they could start envisioning how the plan will look.
We are starting something.
Yeah. As long as they're doing the process all through their life stage.
And they change their minds, and every student wants to be a veterinarian until they find out that there's some things they do that aren't probably pleasant. So then they don't want to do that anymore. They don't just get to cuddle and hold puppies all day. Right?
Yeah. They got to clean up after them, tend to them if they're sick.
So, and then just the last, on January 31st, Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning will be here. We have a meeting with the department just to go through our continuous improvement plan, and it's usually a pretty good meeting. Janet told me we'll be here, and that will be probably a half a day, and then I'll take her around and tour through the schools, just for her to have a look to see. And Janet told me has been here. She's a ADM, and she's been here many times, so she's quite familiar with our district and very appreciative of seeing, what it's like to go to school in Thompson. So, yeah. Oh, and sorry, one last thing I didn't add, just came onto the agenda. Community Wellness and Public Safety, that's the community group that runs through the Friendship Center. Sit on that committee. I co-chair with Aisling Sweeney, and we look after the systemic racism and public education piece. So we'll be attending on Friday and just giving an update. And as a school district, we do provide a number of activities for the community to take part in cultural proficiency training and different activities around that. So, anyone else have any more questions for them?
We've run the gamut.
Lots going on.
You can't say we're not inquisitive.
It's good.
We will move on to the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Circulated in your board packages, expenditures for December 2022. The check register from the accounts payable in the amount of $1,746,451.46 has been provided. Included in that are payroll-related expenditures of $1,314,353.32. This item has also been reviewed at Finance Committee. Teacher payroll of $1,005,923.18, and non-teaching support staff in the amount of $785,739.53 have been approved. My recommendation is at this time is that the total expenditures for December 2022 in the amount of $4,638,114.17 be approved.
Trustee Lawson? And Trustee Humby? All in favor? Or sorry, questions? All in favor?
Included in your package for information is the expenditures as of January 10th, 2023. We're 40.4% through our school year. At this time, including our teacher summer pay increments, our expenditures year to date are 41.7% of plan, or $18,824,929. No surprises at this time. No drawdowns from surplus other than that was planned. And we're going to keep knocking on wood for that, so we're having a good year. The financial dashboard has also been updated as of January 11th. No additional surprises at this time, and no additional funding provided or announced at this time. We have updated the breakfast snack program line item that we have tracking food insecurities. So as of January 11th, $28,802 have been spent in various schools for breakfast and snack programs, with the total budget of $145,000 of additional funds for those. That's all I have at this time, unless there's any other questions.
What happens if there's any money left over for the breakfast program? Does it get carried on to the next year?
Have to review each grant requirement. Many grants will allow for a carry forward into the future year, or into the following year, and they're carried forward and supplemented in the next year. We try to
watch very closely what we refer to them as spend or lose grants, and keep close sight on those expenditures so that we take full advantage of those.
Does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, moving on to new business. And I didn't write down the first thing, so someone's got to tell me. Again,
Respect in school.
respect in school, that's what it was.
So I opened the link and I started it over the Christmas break. I wasn't as eager, I guess, as my fellow trustee on doing things over the break, but it just sparked a question. I know that we had talked previously about our staff doing this in the schools and there being a deadline. And as I was thinking of that, I kind of thought of and I'm not putting down the program, I'm just thinking, you know, we have half the people who are doing this are trained professionals as teachers or social workers or whatever. And we're asking them to do a respect in school program while they're already in the job and should have a pretty good idea of respect in school. Like, it kind of seems like a senseless waste of time. Not saying it's a terrible idea, but it's, if I was a teacher, I'd almost be insulted.
Was it not mandatory? It's a directive from
Yeah.
the province.
Yeah, which I understand.
Which has, I'm just trying to find the, because there's also some information that had come down from the province because of some of the things that have happened in school districts by teachers. The other thing is we did provide half a day for all of our staff to complete this as part of their professional development.
And I kind of get the gist of what you're saying, but I'll be frank with you, I'm the HR person and I've dealt with some things that you would think, wow, this is something. And I mean, there's just things that some people don't even really view as even a respectful situation, or they're like, well, I was just kidding around. Well, you'd be surprised at some of the things I've dealt with over the years that I myself have thought, okay, I mean, it was an error in judgment by, you know, people that are, you know, working in our system, right? So.
And I can understand. It's just a thought of it, like, man, we have professionals who have to give a refresh on respect in schools. Like, that's your job, you know. But I get it. So I guess my main question is the deadline and what are we doing if people are past that deadline?
The deadline is February 28th, and that's a conversation
We're gonna have to have because it's a directive from the province, right? And it could be part of their certification, so I don't know if they really want to go there.
Right. So that'll be expressed to staff, obviously, in a timely manner. But what?
It's been going. The principals just had the update of who their people were at our last principals meeting, so it is being relayed. And there were some incidents where some people have finished it, but they didn't pick the right association. So, you know, when their name wasn't on there, it's because you didn't pick the right association. So we fixed that. So, yeah. Yeah. And it has to do with child protection. There was a new, and I wish I could find it, but the province did also come out with some child protection legislation in the last little while. And this is part of that. Yeah.
I mean, there's an administrative procedure within the district that refers to staff interactions with students, and it specifically says things that, you know, teachers should not be, you know, i.e., texting, Facebooking your students, yada yada.
Team sleepovers.
Yeah, all of those kind of things. I mean, you would think that, but some, they just, because of the technology, they're texting, I mean, all the time. So just, I mean, as a reminder to people.
So I guess, is this so you have a new teacher who's hired next year?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to do this when
Absolutely.
they're hired?
Yeah.
And is the refreshers?
They'll be good for 4 years now, and we've asked that everybody, although, like, we had ours done, but we did it over because there was new content, so we've asked that everybody do it so that we're all at the same starting point.
It was a few years back that the province was paying for the program, having people or your school districts participate in the program, utilize the program, and then it wasn't quite as in-depth as it is now. It's much longer now. So you had to recertify. If you took the shorter one a few years back, I don't remember when that was. Do you? It's quite a few years ago.
Yeah, like 4 years ago.
There was a ministerial directive provided on May 11th that directed all staff to complete, regardless.
And that's anything like your substitute teacher.
You betcha.
custodian.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everyone and the
Clerical, yep. And then all of our coaches have to do the respect and support by February 28th also.
We also voted on this, that we would have to take it because we were directing our staff to take it, like the trustees.
Yeah. Okay.
There was clarification at the provincial level that the trustees did, were not considered direct employees, but
Yeah.
on the board. So
Yeah.
We'll move on to Deerwood School.
So it just, we got the email there about Deerwood School, and I hear it's not a new issue. Like I know because with Deerwood School we did the addition of the sewer line when that street was getting redone because there's only one line.
Secondary one.
Right, the secondary line. So I know it's not a new. I guess the communication, we were told that the students were sent home, but staff were told it was going to be a 10-minute fix. So just,
Okay, so I'm the one receiving a phone call from the school. Orist was on site there. They couldn't, when at that time, it was probably, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning. There was a burst pipe. They couldn't locate the pipe, is the information that I got. I'm like, it was my understanding that if Orist could locate the burst, they could get it fixed within a specific amount of time. My direction to the school principal, Mr. Harwood, was if you make the call by 11:30 because now you need to get parents organized. I mean, you got to get the child care set up, yada yada. Okay, so never heard back. That was coming home from my own home at noon hour, and there were people being dropped off at Deerwood School. Got back here, I was like, okay, what's going on? Is the school open? He's like, yeah, until we were able to fix it. And yeah, school resumed. So, but we had a few incidents prior to Christmas break with regards to the plumbing situation over there. I believe Orist dug a hole over the Christmas break or had somebody come, and that was repaired. So I believe this fix was not as, until I guess the problem was the location. But these are probably questions that the facilities manager would be more in tune to than myself. But
I'm just concerned if it's an ongoing issue that, students in school, right? So, because I just heard that they're gonna have to snake whatever it is almost daily now. So maybe that's a question for Horace.
yes, yeah, that could very well be.
Maybe you could ask Horace and see what this situation is at Deerwood, because if it's an ongoing thing, and it's gonna have to be looked at. It'd be nice to know.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be snake daily, but I think he did mention something that the pipe may be collapsed, and that they need to, until they have an opportunity in the spring to get it. Yeah, because of the ground being too frozen. I think that does ring a bell, actually, but yes. Okay.
Moving on to correspondence.
The board member profile survey. We have to vote on if we're gonna actually do it or not. No?
I already did it.
No, we're actually, MSBA said we have to vote on this if we're actually gonna do it or not. Both of them, they did today.
Okay, well, I've already done mine, so.
Okay, so I guess we'll.
I'll make a motion to,
Yeah, because MSBA had give the instruction to distribute it to all the distribute the survey to all the trustees in their division.
yeah, that's action required.
Yeah, please assist us by distributing the survey instruments to all the trustees.
Friday, March 31st for a deadline.
It's super easy, I mean, it's just how old are you, your level of education, what do you identify as, like, it's a very simple survey.
We're looking for a trustee profile.
Yeah.
Who are our trustees?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just click the link there on that.
Maybe it was the second one that we're supposed to vote on. Yeah, the CSBA, that's the definitely the one that we're supposed to vote on.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know it was one of them.
So with the CSBA, it's in French.
No,
Yeah.
it's in English.
Well, I only got one page and it's in French. And my français is.
Mine's the French too.
The front page, like the explanation is in French, but if you click on that link, it comes in English and then you can start the survey.
Oh, okay.
I got it. I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah, now I see the English, you're right.
Yeah. And then at the very bottom, it,
Oh, yeah.
it says start.
Oh yeah, okay, I see.
So it explains it.
Okay, we do that after.
Yeah, so that one we actually have to vote on for, to do it.
I'm not certain what happened, but I have an English copy of the letter that's scanned into Allstat, so I will circulate by email.
Okay.
Well, once you click on that link, it turns it to English
But they
anyways.
can see what the letter says.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then I'll update them.
So the letter, the introductory letter,
The
the
letter
survey
is
is in
French.
French online and then.
I was just asking to see if they could read that. Oh,
That's always
that's
get
right.
the neighbor over to read it out for me. Guess you could go.
Oh, and they also said some of the questions,
Yeah. I'm not bad either.
some of the questions are specific only to the CSBA in that survey, but you still have to answer them and to move on to the rest of the survey. They said they would know who is in the CSBA from your answer.
Okay.
So at the chair meeting, they want a board motion for us to vote on this?
Yeah, to do it. Yeah,
To vote that we have to do it.
yeah.
But it's just one person wasn't filled out.
No, we all do.
But it's
Both.
asking very general.
And the information's anonymous.
Yeah, like it's asking.
Yeah, they want all of us to do it.
How many First Nation communities are in your school division?
Approximate percentage of K to 12 students in your school board system. If we keep any stats, actually, this is probably one that I could sit with you and if you guys choose to do it. Indigenous instruction requires.
Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
like something we need to do as a school board, not as individual trustees.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna have 7 surveys that have the exact same information on them.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Make it up.
Yeah. If we're all from one district, the information should be the same, yeah.
Then it talks about like method of delivery. So probably a lot of this looks like it's programming also. So it might be something that we do at the
We can do it in
education.
committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll do it there. I'll
When
go.
is your next meeting?
Is due on the 31st? Yeah. We meet on the 31st.
Okay, so then, yeah, then that has to be done.
Okay.
We'll just
I'll move it.
send it to the education planning committee.
Yeah.
That's the directive.
Yeah, in English,
Why
please.
Anglais.
Okay.
Yeah, just looking at it now.
Sounds good.
that is an agenda item for our meeting. on the
Yes,
31st.
yeah, we'll go through it together and then we can submit. Okay.
Okay, the 2023 convention raffle donation. We always donate something and we get it made from somewhere in our district.
So I haven't put it out yet because I need to see if somebody's driving, because the last time I put something in my suitcase, I broke it. We fixed it, but we,
I
Yeah.
could possibly drive, like, would we need a truck?
well, I can ask.
I have full intentions of driving and I do have a truck, so.
Okay, so I can put it out.
Because I was gonna say, I have a little
If you get one of those lifts things from Mick,
Yeah,
that's a
snowmobile lift.
snowmobile lift. We had
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
We did take one.
Yeah, that 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was awesome.
yeah, and then we'll have like a
So we have a truck.
sweatshirt. Yeah, okay.
If you're bringing the snowmobile lift, you'll need.
Well, the lifts aren't that big. You could throw it in a car too.
What do you need a lift for?
Not a
If
suitcase.
for
though.
snowmobiles, so the track doesn't sit on the ground.
Yeah, but what do you need it for this context?
Oh, because they have a
You're not
huge
raffling a
raffle.
snowmobile.
No, because they have a huge
Oh,
raffle.
just on the lift?
Lift.
Oh, that is the reward.
Yeah, they'll make 'em-
oh, that's
Mick-
a Thompson thing.
Mick will make
Okay.
'em-
What do I do
Yeah.
with that?
Nick and the kids make them in the shop at the high school, and then they donate.
Oh.
So the raffle is we as trustees buy tickets, but it's all donated stuff from different school districts. Yeah, yeah. There's some really cool stuff.
Big fire pits,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
quilts, it's, yeah.
The shipping's gonna kill you to bring it home on a plane, but
Michelle's got.
For a slight
Lift,
price.
a fireplace. Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Buy another round of tickets.
so do we need a motion on this for, like, when the school division's not putting in any money for this? It's just we're gonna just ask for
In the past, I've just paid for the cost of like the lift or whatever.
material.
Yeah, so the kids, because it's usually their fundraising also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll,
And it just runs through PR usually,
yeah, yeah,
or PR committee budget.
yeah.
Okay, bylaw updates for consideration. This was actually a discussion too, for e-signatures and stuff like that. MSBA is gonna be sending out like a letter that we could revise maybe to, like, if we have to our district, but they're gonna start allowing, e-signatures on certain documents.
We still have all original signatures on our documents with the exception of our checks. We have electronic signature for the checks.
Okay. So that wouldn't be something that we'd be looking into doing?
On documents.
Yeah. That was just one of the things.
There's a lot of
Yeah. There was, the e-signature was the biggest thing that they brought up in the meeting, because there is no legislation in Manitoba that covers e-signatures. And that's why everyone was kind of nervous about that. So I don't know if we wanted to do that, or maybe, I don't, yeah, bring it to the
just
policy.
send the whole document to policy and have them hash it out.
And I think some of this after, Angel had looked through some of this and addressed a lot of these already.
Yeah, that's the one thing we do
Yeah.
not do, is this, the electronic signatures, myself and Kelly said that the documents, like everything else in that, those recommendations.
Physical absences.
Yeah, that's all covered off
Yeah.
in procedure bylaws, the only thing we don't do is, the electronic signatures, so, I mean, if that's something that, the policy committee wants to examine, or weigh out the pros and cons of that process,
We can
or-
weigh the pros and cons.
yeah, like, is it that onerous that we're not using electronic signatures, like,
Does it
but other than that, all of,
save us time?
yeah, within that document, I sat down and looked, everything else is covered off in procedure bylaws, like attending meeting electronically, what else, yeah.
Voting by ballots.
But, yeah, we do that, so all the only thing we don't do is e-signatures.
Yeah. Your security around the holding of the document, the signature, the MFA around it, maybe more
I think
hassle
that's why
than
it was
my folder then.
discussed so in depth today, maybe because the Manitoba has no legislation right now for,
And then boards are doing all of their own.
yeah,
I mean, I think for some boards that the e-signature may be Yeah, more rural. Wherever they don't, see each other, or don't, can't get a hold of somebody to come in to sign some documents. Whereas you live like, or, in the last few years, the chair of the board has lived within 2 blocks of this building. So, but I'm sure
Generally, we have physical attendance is the
norm here.
And the electronic is the exception. Aside from COVID, we've always been in person.
Yeah.
Policy being
Sure. Sure, yeah, policy, let's take a look at this.
Put that on our agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, the MSBA flyer is available for everyone to see and read, as is the e-bulletin. Did anyone want to discuss and the MSBA executive highlights? I guess we could just do all 3. It's kind of just the executive highlights is just what the executive has been doing and the contacts for all the regions. Did anyone want to?
Yolanda Pre is still with the SFM.
Did anyone want to discuss those 3 things? Anything? No? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Policy committee, Trustee Warner Brown.
I don't think we've met since, we met the day before the last.
You should have a report. If you look at the minutes, you have the minutes that I sent you. If you look at those, they haven't been reported at a board meeting as of yet. Because we met in late December, and we only had one board meeting on the 14th. Yeah. So if you look for anything from me that says policy meeting minutes.
Yeah, let's come back and open up my email then.
Okay.
Education and programming report. Trustee Hamby.
We haven't had a meeting yet. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 31st of January.
Public Relations Committee, Trustee Tomaszewski.
We haven't had a meeting this month, as of yet.
Finance, Property, and Personnel Committee, Trustee Lawson.
We did have a meeting, a very tight to the wire meeting. So just a couple key components, land-based education space. So we've got submissions from our schools, Deerwood, Juniper, Westwood, Burwood, and Wapanuck. Those have gone now to Orist to deal with administration or local administration of the schools. And looking forward to seeing what they come up with. Trustee indemnity, we've got a province-wide snapshot of their indemnities. So the key from there, we're $9,000 per less for the trustee indemnity compared to Frontier. Slightly higher than provincial average, not by much, but slightly. And just for reference, the highest paid trustee indemnity would be Louis Riel at $24,000 per year, and the lowest is $659, which is Kelsey. RDPC renovation, roughly 10% is done, but it's mainly things you're not going to see. There are permits, bonding, insurance, and also looking forward to that, getting some more legs as we go forward. Budget, Finance Committee has started to look at the 2022-2023 budget. Through that budget, we've got our insurance report via the provincial plan, and it's looking like it's up 17%, which is unfortunate. Technology plan, we received from Joe and his team, their 2023-2025 plan, a very, very in-depth plan, and kudos to their team. Excellent document. The plan focuses on creating equity among schools, current and future needs with respect to infrastructure, current and future, software, the roles, responsibilities, and communication. And just like, sorry, also with the trustee indemnity, we've looked at the bylaw today and we're gonna bring it to the board once committee has a recommendation. That bylaw needs to be approved by May 31st. That's correct. Yeah. And that's it.
I do all my emails on my other computer.
You have it?
You can go to MD's computer and leave it out there.
Oh, where do you have on your email?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. I do all my computers, all stuff on my home computer. This is what I'm doing. Okay, policy committee. For December 22, attendance was Angel, Michelle, MD, and myself. New business, we reviewed terms of reference to gain an understanding of the work of the policy committee. We reviewed procedural bylaws 4 and 5, which was to do with agenda preparations and dissemination. And we decided to make no changes on those. We discussed to review board policy number 9, which is code of conduct and sanctions. And this is a process where we review these policies in rotation. So we decided since the last change, there have been no recommended changes for that policy. And then Angel was tasked with consulting Janice of the Manitoba School Boards Association regarding posting board meetings prior to having board approval. And her response was that it is practice of most boards not to have meeting minutes posted publicly until such time as they are formally approved. And thanks. So any questions on that?
We're good.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Aside from why can't trustee Hank get into his email?
Okay, we'll go to trustee comments. Trustee Sharker? We're trustee comments. We'll start with you.
Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. And we like everyone for your generous and friendful and cooperative participation in this meeting, and we congratulate and wish Happy New Year to our public audiences too. Thank you.
I just want to give a shout out to Riverside School. So I was able to attend their annual Christmas concert, holiday concert, whatever it is that they had called it, on the 13th. And I just want to say how nice it was to actually physically be back in the school for those concerts and seeing all the kids dressed up, and it was a really nice experience. So thank you to all the staff. A lot of hard work goes into preparing those concerts, and I really enjoyed it.
Just echoing Trustee Hamby's comments. I went to June for the winter concert, and the patient, I had one kid, and the patient these teachers have, or staff have, with corralling all of these students on a stage. At the very end, they brought all the kids up, and it was pretty comical. They did well, but it was quite the task. So, but it was fantastic to be out in the public and being out. The Christmas spirit was great. So also went to the RDPC Jazz and Choral, and the winter concert to Artie Parker as well. And there's something about going out around Christmas time with live music, and it's very very refreshing. So it was a good start to the Christmas year. So. Sorry.
Basically, I'd say you can say everybody else.
I just want to welcome everyone back. Hope everyone had a safe holiday. Just want to let everybody know with the nice weather,
our littles are out on the streets playing, just be cautious, courteous, slow down, even though our speed limit is 50, just be extra cautious.
Trustee Warner Brown?
I think I'm good. Yeah, everything was said well.
Yeah. Yeah, everything was said. I just wanted to add, I also went to the band. I thought the best part of it was they started with the younger grades and hot crust buns, and then they went to the old grades, and then you seen all the progress. I thought that was pretty awesome. Just to see it.
It's too bad that the younger kids couldn't stay because of space and probably bedtime or patience, because they could actually see that progression. I thought the same thing. It was and through COVID, right?
Yeah.
Like I talked to the teachers after, and they go, we weren't too sure what to expect this year after coming back from COVID, because some of them haven't touched an instrument in 2 years. You know, airbanding, so, I thought the same thing, yeah.
Questions from the public?
Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. No, thank you for coming.
Okay, so we'll adjourn to go in camera in 10 minutes. I need a motion to do that. Trustee Lawson,
I'll second.
Trustee Tomaszewski, all in favor?